We have 1 minute.
We're live.
Okay. I call to order our board meeting this evening. I move that we adopt the agenda as mailed.
Second.
Oh, I forgot to call Brent.
Aye, and
Sorry,
I'm gonna have to wait on Brent.
yeah, that's okay. We'll get him on.
forgot about it.
Just email like that.
You're on candid camera.
Alright, sounds good.
Brent, we've moved to adopt the agenda as mailed and we need your vote.
Yes.
Before we get started, as most of you are aware, we've had a very tragic day here in Osage City. So we'd like to have a moment of silence for the Fort family and for Maxine Burns. Thank you. Starting with any delegation, I don't think we have any. All right. Any correspondence?
Yes, we have two thank you cards. One's from Miles Johnson. Thank you for remembering Veronica with the great card. She loved her job. The check was appreciated. Thanks to Patty for taking care of her time cards and vacation, sick leave. Pam, she enjoyed visiting at lunch and at the fairs. And this one is from the Carolyn Fager family. We appreciate your thoughtful donation to Welka in memory of Carolyn Fager.
All right. Treasurer's report.
Okay, I'm gonna back that way. On the treasurer's report itself, on the front page, just some notes, noteworthy things. So Osage County, on supplemental general or LOB, we got $273,206. You'll notice we got some capital outlay money from the state and from the county, $85,000. Some food service money from the state, $33,000. And we are using up ESSER money or drawing that ESSER 2 money down to be spent. On the second page of that treasurer's report, we got some bond and interest money from the county. $155,000. And then over on the far column, you'll see some capers flow through. That flows through and bounces in, bounces out to the state in $171,000. I'm gonna jump back to, I'll just go ahead and hit the petty cash. We need $72.55 in the elementary, $70.90 in the high school, and $50 in the superintendent's office. Hit the payment of the bills. I really didn't see anything out of the ordinary on page 1 at all, unless you have a question. Nothing, same thing, page 2, really, just very general bills. Page 3, you'll notice from UNB Bank down towards about the bottom third, $92,000 interest payment. That's the payment that we get the majority of that money back. That was at 0%.
Builder's bond.
Builder's bond or whatever they call it. So you get the majority of that money back. So bills were pretty good this month. Addendums,
I did have one question there, Chris.
okay.
I see, let's see, what page is Page 2, Mosier Tree and Sawmill student reimbursement.
That's wood, lumber for shop class. Addendums. Just pretty good. Remember that number will change when we get our audit, but right now that's where it's sitting, about 58% of the general fund remaining, which is good if it holds true. And also, the supplemental general LOB about 83.51%, which is in pretty good shape right now if that number holds up. Any questions at all on anything else? I miss anything? That's it.
Right. Back to this. Okay, and I can do these all at once, right? Okay. I move that we adopt the minutes of the special board meeting on January 6th, adopt the minutes of the regular board meeting on January 12th, adopt the minutes of the special board meeting on January 21st, approve the petty cash in the elementary of $72.55, high school $70.90, superintendent $50, and the payment of the bills in the amount of $180,410.81, and the December payroll in the amount of $576,498.58.
I'm sorry, that should be January payroll.
Take all of that, except I said January payroll. Thank you.
Second that second.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Brent. Okay, we're going to go into old business. We have one topic, COVID guidance. So first I'd like, Lisa, if you could just give us a quick update on how everything is going since we met.
Great. We met 2 weeks ago, I believe, about. And since that time, we discontinued the contact tracing in the classrooms. And we're not testing those kids. And our numbers have dropped significantly in our district for positivity. That's down to actually 1, which is now available to view on the dashboard daily. I update those numbers around noon to 2 p.m. each day. So last time we met, we had 28 positive cases and we now have 1.
So I know that the guidance, the original guidance was through February 18th, and we were gonna make a decision at this meeting whether to continue with what we're doing, which I believe is your recommendation. I think most of us would most agree that what we're doing is working, and I think the morale of the school is probably up,
Absolutely.
and our nursing staff of Lisa,
I think all staff.
all staff, wonderful. So I think unless we have any other discussion, I think we'll just
I do have one question, because I'm gonna get it wrong, either KDHE or someone, did they say that they were lifting it for 30 days? Like, have we seen anything of whether?
So I contacted the epidemiology department and they are to meet late February 14th and not release guidance until probably the next week as to what they recommend schools do.
Okay, so do we need to, make a decision here?
So I was gonna suggest, and to see if you guys agree, is that we just, no matter what the guidance is, continue doing what we're doing, knowing it's working for our district, and then we'll just discuss again at our next board meeting, unless something changes and there, for some reason, we need to
What does the county health department
meet again.
say in the same type of situation as we're experiencing in the district?
That it's working.
It's probably,
The numbers across the state are dropping
They're down.
dramatically, which is good.
Yeah, I do like that idea.
so I don't know if we need to do a motion, or if we just need to state that we're gonna just keep on with what we're doing. I think there's no major objections, any other thoughts?
Did our action last month limit us to tonight on our timeline?
We just said we were gonna decide if we were gonna extend, or
So if we're extending, do we need to take formal action? to do
either a consensus of the board or you can do a motion, so.
We got the consensus on board. Thank you.
And I'll continue to update weekly with the board report on and things.
That's helpful, thank you.
I like that, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Lisa. All right, on to new business. Mr. Hutton is going to review our capital outlay items.
There's a couple of the bigger items that we were gonna talk about. First one's Mrs. Paul, I'm gonna let her. She's been doing some work with ATHCO, which is a Greenbush bid, or a bid winner. Let me go through their buying consortium.
I think at the last board meeting, I had given you out what Matt Klein, our designer, had given us out. And I had told you that the slide wasn't really enticing because it was 8 feet, which is not really a great slide for students that are 5 foot tall. So I asked him to go back and redesign, and at that time, at the last board meeting, we had not gotten that far. This is the new design, just so you know. I did ask him to put in the parallel bars, which you see the little guy on the front going down those bars. That's big for our students. They wanted to make sure that we have that. We have some monkey bars off to the side too. There's also a spinner, and then you've got some two whirly spinners in there for students, and they are things that actually spin when kids get them going. But the tower was the one that was probably most appropriate for our older students, just because Mr. Klein had said that if we wanted to have a larger slide, he could put that in, and it would be a 12-foot slide, but he would have to make sure that he built the tower. And that's the only way, according to regulations, that could be done.
For safety with the talls.
Yeah, that we could actually have a longer slide. And so he said, I'll give you the tower, but just know it's gonna be pricier, and you can see on the back page, it is definitely pricier.
Before we go there, can I have a quick question?
Sure.
Is this little guy in addition to what we did for the preschool? Is this all just the elementary, doesn't have anything to do with the preschool that we've already built?
Right, this is in
Just-
addition to what we already have.
Perfect, I
Yes,
just wanted to
so,
confirm,
yeah.
this is all the new stuff for the elementary
This
side.
would all be new material out there.
Thank you.
The swing sets, yeah, that's new too.
Right, and if you
Swing sets
remember,
off in
we-
the distance.
The ones
we've got
by
those
the
west
fourth and fifth
swings that are pretty old. I think that they've been here since I was a student here, which a couple of years ago maybe. And but they are very old, so we're gonna build all new ones there, and that's on the back side, so that'd be like 8 new swings back there. They wouldn't have the A-frame, it would just be perpendicular frame. I don't know what you would actually call that, but that's poles.
Would we need the ADA swings, one of them?
Matt never said anything, but what they do allow is that they have ADA accessibility
that you can add to.
into it. Of course, we have wood chips there, so that makes it a little bit more challenging. I will say we don't have anyone wheelchair bound right now, but that doesn't mean that can't happen. But at least we have the accessibility into the playground equipment and into the swings.
And you said it was wood chips, like that will remain for all this new stuff.
Yeah, I actually, he did price what the rubber matting would be for just the equipment and where the wood chips are right now, and it was like over $250,000. You have to cement everything on top, and then you put the rubber layer down, and he said the cement is expensive in itself, and then to put the rubber layer down. He said, businesses will tell you that you can do it differently, but he said it will not last, and it'll start to crack. And he said, you have got to make sure you've got that firm foundation. So when he priced it, it was high.
Is that the shredded rubber or is that like a rubberized?
No, that's like the rubber matting.
That's a rubberized ADA
Yeah.
accessible mat.
Mhm.
That's kind of the wave right now, but it's pricey, very pricey rubber.
What about the chipped rubber versus the chipped wood?
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
I asked Matt about that, and he said, honestly, you might as well just go with the chips because we've put that rubberized in, and he said it's as messy as the chips.
I believe it, my son's daycare when they just came home with socks,
It's-
shoes full of black chip.
That's
Yeah,
the problem,
rubber.
is that it gets the black, the rubber on it, gets on the clothing and gets on the shoes, and then you track that into the school, and
It just would be softer, I
he said
feel
it's,
like.
it can be a mess.
Well, something I think about is maintenance, you know,
Yeah.
obviously the wood is going to be biodegradable, whereas the rubber is going to last. I mean, is there
A lot of it ends up washing down the drain on the,
the
It's
rubber or
washed.
the wood or both?
both the wood, it both would,
Yeah.
they both would.
The rubber tends to separate where the wood will compact over time, and so you'll continue to add to it. The rubber, you would need to, you know, refill essentially about every 5 to 7 years, cause it will just push out as kids play on it and stuff. I mean, that's what we like at Lincoln Park, we've had to do that, I think, at least 2 times in the last 12 years, so.
We add new chips about every other year.
You have to spray or anything to keep weeds down?
No.
What about, you know, pea gravel used to be a thing, is that no longer?
I know, I've seen that at Overbrook, I never have really asked them about the pea gravel.
You know, it doesn't decay or?
I would say on that, it would probably depend on the height of the tower. The pea gravel probably has a different compaction rate if a child happened to fall as opposed to the wood chip or the rubber. And so depending on the height that you have things, the pea gravel may not be an acceptable surface to use.
It's supposed to, the wood chips have got to be a certain thickness, and I couldn't tell you
It has to be a certain depth.
Pea gravel probably does as well, depending on.
We get enough wood chips in our building, I can only imagine that pea gravel getting into the VA tile and into the flooring. It might ruin some of our VA tile in the hallway is what I'm thinking.
So is the wood chips that have to be probably redone every year? I mean,
We bring some in, it's about every year.
We do it every other summer.
Every other
It's
summer.
not terrible expensive, a couple $1,000 worth of wood
I will say what's better right now is that you guys last year, if you remember, allowed us to get the swing mats that are underneath the swings, and that has really saved a lot of the getting
Kicking and
underneath the wood
digging.
chips and getting those big huge dips and holes right under the swings. That's saved quite a bit. So
On the site map, does this fit into the current playground area, or will it extend any, you know, to the south?
Matt's come down and mapped it out, the designer, so I'm assuming that it is to fit exactly where it's at. Although Mr. Hutton is having him come down again because there is a gas line underneath that playground area. And so Mr. Hutton wants to make sure that he understands that he needs to miss the gas line. I've talked with Mr. Fager about that, our head maintenance guy, and Mr. Fager said that he could probably just move the apparatus about a foot one way or the other and still miss the gas line, but we just wanna make sure.
Where is this in relation to the new kindergarten? I haven't seen it.
This is to the east of it.
Okay, thank you.
But the swings on the east side will still stay there, so it's in between where the new apparatus is and the east, those 4 east wings or swings.
And that is positioned between the swale that goes through the playground and the concrete.
Yep.
What, how has that worked out? Is
The
that
lazy
what-
river,
Is that what we call it now?
well, that's what the faculty calls it.
Sure,
If you
sure
get a
helps.
flood in there, if it
Sure
rains a
helps.
lot, we
We're
can
gonna
get an
get
inner
some
tube
tubes
going
in.
down there.
It's really worked pretty well as far as keeping water out of the gym doors.
Right.
That was the main objective, is make sure we didn't get water in the building.
Oh.
It's
I didn't
it's
know
done the
there
trick
was a-
there.
I didn't
Didn't
know
know
that
whether
was an
it
issue.
could become a mud wrestling pit for the playground or how that is.
No, really, our students have not messed with that. Yeah. They basically go down it, run up the hill and play in the field or go and play on the equipment, so yeah, they don't even mess with it.
You never know when you do something like that, whether it's going to.
It's literally the amount of.
It makes sense for the water, does it make sense for the kids?
pretty much.
I will say, I presented this first off to my administrative team and then presented it to leadership team, presented it then to the faculty, and then I did present it to site council, elementary site council, tried to get their feedback from it. And they were the ones that said, ooh, I think maybe you should get some more designs, it doesn't look like the original designs were as entertaining to the older students. So that's why we kind of went back to the drawing board with the design. And then I did present it to student ambassadors, to the fall student ambassadors yesterday afternoon, and presented it to the K-Kids officers this afternoon, and they were all very excited about what might be. I said, it's not been voted on yet, so don't go home and say, we're getting a playground.
What is his timing, the timing?
What we're thinking about, and Mr. Hutton, correct me if I'm wrong, we would have to have a different agency come in and take down the tan equipment and the blue equipment, take those out. And then probably do that sometime in June. And then in July, this company would come in and do the new
Just that.
equipment.
That's what's good.
Is that demolition part of this bid?
It is not.
Do we know what that's gonna cost to demo that?
No,
do not.
I thought about calling Dean to see if he would do it. I don't know who else to do. You got any ideas? I don't know what it's gonna
Who's
take.
Dean?
You know
Dean
my
Davidson.
solution?
Davidson.
Auction it off, maybe somewhere. Somebody will come take it out. and pay
Somebody will
for it.
take it, somebody wants some tetanus in their life. I'm joking, everyone, on.
Selling it.
I mean, the only thing is
I don't know if
if
we
you
can.
start tearing that up, are they gonna be, I mean, you're
I
gonna
don't
have
think
to
it'll
be.
be worth.
Could be a liability.
That's what I'm thinking. It'd probably be more of a liability than it would be
Yeah, I don't know that.
I vote we just
saving
get rid of
money
it.
or getting money back off of it. I mean, that's one of the reasons
My-
why we really wanna get rid of it, is because
I'm
it's
thinking
old.
it's to add another $12,000 probably. I don't know. I was just thinking in my head it's gonna
Yeah, I
cost
don't know.
$200,000.
Just this is 188 and then,
Because probably the demolition will have to consist of taking all the concrete out, so we just start fresh when this company comes in, so, I mean, taking some of that out
I don't
might
know.
not be that cheap, I mean.
Yeah, I don't
Some
know
of
how.
what we've done in the past is put it online auction with Purple Wave. Somebody would buy the different things that we had, and then whatever was left, well, we paid to have the demolition done, which a lot of times the sale of what we have done has paid for the demolition. It's about break even wash as opposed to paying for it all. I don't know how that fits in our timeline or anything else, but I assume this is going to be
Purple Wave's a little touchy on timing sometimes, cause you never know how long it's gonna, where their sale's gonna be. But I don't know if that's something they'd be interested in doing or not.
There might be some liability issues too with reselling it, the playground equipment.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe if Dean Davidson's listening, maybe he'd be willing to donate some of his time and effort if we could give him that apparatus.
right,
I don't even remember what's out there.
Some of it is steel, I mean, it
Talking
is
about
metal.
steel and plastic and
Yeah.
some of it's coated.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it's coated,
Years.
the metal sheeting's coated with the.
temporary removal of
Is
that
if
section.
they like little churches or anything, you know,
We shouldn't have to
somebody
do
looking
that.
for little
Yeah.
equipment, take it out for it or something.
Like we made some type of statement that says we don't take what your own risk.
Yeah. That's kind of weird.
I'll,
We can get a number from Dean.
Yeah, go from there.
I'm not afraid of moving forward on the rest of it.
I realize, you guys, it is a lot of money, and I think when I first showed it to Mr. Hutton, he probably got a couple of gray hairs. But we have to understand, it will last us, it's 25 years. So that's a long time. So, and our equipment out there has been out there for over 25 years from my understanding. So,
So was this adding the mats underneath the swing sets too back, I mean, would that have to be added back to that so we don't kick all the wood chips and stuff out on this new stuff, or would that be extra to put those mats?
no, those mats are just, they're movable.
Okay,
So we just take them out and kind of level off the wood chips, and then Alan just puts the mats right back on.
Okay.
And you said you played on this playground equipment when you were here?
No, I was just joking, Dave.
Okay, I won't go on what the rest of it is.
I'm gonna kick them under the table.
It is very old though.
The swings may have been.
Oh, no.
The
Okay.
swings I did, yes, on the west side.
And is there any warranty? Like, is it like a 25-year warranty, or they're just saying it should last for 25 years or something?
Don't quote me, I'll check that to make sure, but I thought Matt said that it's a 10 or 15-year warranty, if I remember right.
That
But
way
I
if
will
something does
check that
happen,
because
Something.
I think one of my site council members asked me about that too.
This would be exciting.
And they come in and do everything for the footings to, everything's required to stabilize everything.
The only thing is the takeout and the wood chips. They won't, on the equipment that we just got, we did pay for the wood chips to come in, and they did put the wood chips around the new apparatus. But in this one, the wood chips is not, it's not figured into budget.
Do we know what that cost would be?
Patty or Mr. Hutton?
The what?
The wood chips?
Wood chips,
Oh. We usually, it costs a couple thousand
yeah, I agree.
to add to it. There's a lot of wood chips already there, so.
That you would just
Move
kind of
back.
move and then put it back.
Yeah.
Alright, any other thoughts or questions on this project? So this was, you started with the big one, right? Started
was
with
the
the
big
big
one.
conversation,
Well,
or is the next conversation gonna be this thing? I'm just
It's not,
kidding.
it's not quite that big, but so I sent out the update on the bus. Tyler, he asked me how we were in buses one day, and I said we were in pretty good shape, and then 2 days later, I
That's
hear
what you
we
get
have
for asking,
oil,
Tyler.
we have water in the oil of one of the buses, which total, that's one of our old buses, which pretty much means, Dave, if I'm not mistaken, it's not worth having anymore.
Yeah, what one is it, but
It's one of the old ones.
One of the sub buses.
We wouldn't wanna spend,
you wouldn't get your money back out of it.
no, I think it's 14, if I'm not mistaken, number 14 out there.
What year is it, you recall?
Old,
Yeah, I was gonna say it's.
Not as old as the
around
playground.
limit, isn't it?
90. I don't know, it's a 90. Could it be a 92? I wouldn't be that old. No, 96.
It's still 25 years old, 26
I don't
years
know,
old.
it's old. It's one that would have to be replaced, so, you know, we can get by, you know, with the we have enough buses, it's just, the sub buses that we sometimes have to go into. The buses that we have online are in good shape, but that, you know, to replace, that bus with a new bus is January of 2023 and roughly $18,000 more than what we paid for the last one, which
Which was 2 years ago or a year ago?
2 years ago or something like that, $92,000. The steel, it's the steel cost, I guess.
It's everything.
So 2 years ago, we paid 92 and it'd be closer to 110.
Yeah, for $18,000 more, something like that. That's if we waited until January to get it, because if we custom order it with the 3-point lap belts, it's gonna take that long. Another option is a new stock already ordered bus, which has been ordered, and it may not be exactly those specs, but it probably, you know, be somewhere close. Would not have the 3-point lap belts. That's estimated delivery of July of this year, but that'd roughly be 10,000 more than the bus we bought last year. That's option 2.
Can they add the belts to it?
That's option 3. A new stock already ordered and may not be exactly to your specs, but that bus would have, you could add the 3-point lap belt, shoulder belts. That's 18,000 more than the bus we bought last time, but you could get it in July.
Do you know what the difference in the specs is, or do they have the specs to compare?
I don't know what the specs are. It just probably depends on what they have ordered.
What?
It
Yeah,
probably
what
wouldn't make a
change-
heck of a
yeah.
lot of
I was
difference,
gonna say, what, I
honestly.
wonder what special things we prefer on our buses.
There could be a number of things.
I just imagine, yeah, I have no idea.
We've been getting tinted windows with white roof and, different, I'm trying to think of some, there's a gajillion different things you can change on them.
As long as it's not like purple or something, I guess.
What do we have for backup buses with this one down?
We have number 2 that goes to the tech route, it's coming back and forth, it's always usually open at night. And then we have number 16, which is another old bus.
So
We ran into rust problems with both of those old buses this year. We had to do some rust work. They did not pass. One of those buses did not pass just because of rust on the outside. If a student walks by and gets snagged on that rust, they won't pass it just for that. So the salt on the roads really tears them up.
Yeah, long country driving and whatever.
How often do we get those inspected? I mean, is
Every
it
year.
Every year, so we have one that's not been passed yet then?
No, it did pass.
Oh,
We
it did
fixed,
pass.
we patched it up.
Okay,
I mean, it got past this inspection, covered up the rust.
So I would be interested in know, the way you read that is it's more a disclaimer, it may not be as same as our specs.
But we get it 6
but-
months sooner.
But it potentially could be for that matter. I'd be interested in doing spec comparison to make sure, we're not getting
Right. Yeah.
something, there's a big difference between the cheapest thing you put on the road and something that is respectable to last our life cycle and our duty also, so.
Sounds like they're gonna be the same amount. I mean, by the time, it's either you get it in July or you get it in January. So we just need to decide,
The
can
lo-
we wait till January or?
Yeah, so explain the difference between those two again, between,
If we ordered a brand new bus to our specifications
with the belts?
with the belts and probably with some child restraint
It's
seats,
January.
it'd be January of next year at the
and
earliest.
that price was the 110.
18,000
Plus
extra.
the 92, cause we paid
Yeah.
92 last time, so I just came up with the.
The option 3 was also that price
With the bells.
with belts, but we get it in July. That's the difference.
So we just need to decide, are we willing to wait till January, cause it's gonna be the same amount of money, or to your point, if we look at the specs and if they're what we would want anyway, we might as well get it for.
Well, and my point goes to the fact that there potentially could be city chassis specs and country chassis specs.
These are off-lease well, no, those aren't. Those are new buses.
Meaning if it's always on the highway, it can be less of a spec bus where it can't take the rigor of the country roads for the year's life cycle that we're gonna put it through.
Option number 4 is a used bus, which we have not typically done. I've not bought a used bus. It could be a 1, 2, or 3-year-old lease return. We could have that in 30 to 45 days. Estimated price is roughly 70 to 80,000, depending on which year you get. 70 for a 1-year-old bus to 80 to a 3-year-old bus.
No belts.
It could have a-
It probably would not have belts.
Oh,
No.
gotcha.
No, it would not have belts. Most buses don't have belts.
Well, I know we made the commitment for the safety of our kids, to have belts in them. So I think that's something that we should stay with. I think option 1 is probably ideal. Option 3, with the belts in a stock bus, if the specs are within reason to what we're trying to accomplish, would save us 6 months, but.
When do you have to act on that to be able to hit those deadlines? So is that something we'd have to do in the next 30 days, or is that something that, how long is that a valid offer?
I don't know that I didn't ask him if I waited till March with that date.
most bids aren't, most bids are max 30 days, if that.
Yeah, I didn't ask him that, I'm sorry.
And the reason I'm asking is because we'll have to figure out what we're doing tonight with what they're.
So,
What's on the ground is king right now. It may not be there tomorrow.
so
basically, this bus, does it take, I mean, it'll be put in as a route bus, or do you, I mean, how do you guys move your buses around? I mean,
We would probably put that in as a route bus and take one of the older route buses and put it as a spare bus. Or we could move one of the buses we've been using as
event,
a event bus, and put this in there.
activity
An
bus, and
activity
then
bus.
move it to a route bus and
Mhm.
Our cycle for buying buses over the years has been about every year and a half or so.
And it's about time, cause it was right when we got on the board, I
You
think,
guys
so
haven't
we,
been on the board.
I think just one,
Did we buy a bus since you?
yeah, at the very beginning,
Yeah.
and then COVID hit,
Right out
so
there.
yeah.
And bought the minibus, which is not really
But then we did also buy the minibus.
part of that cycle. That bus was
So
bad
we
shape.
could approve, getting a new bus and it would be,
The dollar figure's the same either way.
right, we just, if the specs, I guess the decision just needs to be if the specs are what we would want, we go for the July,
So
if
number
the
three.
specs are, number 3, if the specs are what we would want and need with the belts. Exact, is that what you say, exact?
Acceptable.
Thank you, acceptable. We probably need to make a motion for this one, cause it's a big one, right? I motion that we approve the purchase of a new bus at approximately $110,000. We could purchase a stock bus with the 3-point belts if it has acceptable specs. If not, put an order in for a new one to arrive in approximately January of 23.
Second that.
I,
I have to go through the bid process on that, so.
Okay, but you have approval to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe we just need to
We
meet.
didn't make a motion on the.
Yeah, but I was waiting for some grain for that, but we could do it now. I got excited for the buses, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, before we move on to the next, I make a motion that we approve the quote on the new elementary playground equipment.
Second, aye.
I,
That bid is the Green Bush Award winner, so that's.
You know, just for curiosity, you'll find out about warranties and those kind of things.
Actually, I just sent the warranty to Mr. Hutton. There's different warranties according to what they are. I mean, it starts out at 100 years and then it goes 15 years, 10 years. Most of the ones that we would have on that equipment would be between the 10 and 15-year range.
Are you saying that's different items
based on what
on
we
that,
purchased.
or is that purchase warranties? What are you saying there, I guess?
It is on structural warranty.
oh, but we have to pay extra to get those warranties, is that what you mean?
I assume like the steel structure versus the plastic slides are gonna have different warranties.
Yeah,
That's
when I
what you're
when I
saying?
saw the warranty on the steel parts, that's the 100-year warranty. The others are 10 to 15 years.
He'll find out,
Well, I'll
I
probably
mean,
cover
if they're
this.
less than 100 or
25.
Our students will be thrilled.
he automatically gets the authority then. And then the last thing you wanted to just, do we wanna talk about the warranties? Okay. Is the last, which is the gym floor.
That has been, we've been putting that off every year, to sand that down, because if you remember right, last year we
At lunch.
had lunch again on there, and I don't know, who knows if that'll happen again or not. I hope not. It's a lot of extra work for everybody to do that, but it's a lot easier to keep everybody in the lunchroom. It's crowded, but it's a lot easier having to move tables, and it's hard on the gym floor, it really is, so it's probably made sense not to do that sanding and repainting this last summer, but we did have it on for next summer, and that was $21,000 is what it cost in that range right there. That's Lankford's.
Okay.
And, you know, those are the main things. If there's something could always come up, carpet we could look at. You know, I didn't put some of that stuff on here, but different things like that. At one time, Martin talked about whether we wanted to, Martin Lane, if we wanted to put resaw, I don't know, what is that, Corey, when they put the dirt back on it,
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know if he wants to do,
re-leveling
well, yeah, it's manure is what it is. But he talked about that, but he hasn't said anything lately, and I don't know. I think the field's in pretty good shape. I don't know if it really needs any of that right now. So he hasn't come back on that, but anyway, I think we're in pretty good shape. But those are the big things that I wanted to visit about tonight anyway.
Alright. Moving on, we have the ESSER 3 grant update.
Step on up, Kylie, if you
I
want.
know.
We've
She's
been
the
working,
lucky one.
I wondered who,
well, I put that in your folder. We've been working on that. We need to get that submitted fairly soon. It's been quite a process to watch how what you had to do to get submission, because people waited from August until just last week, or the last couple of weeks to get that approved.
They still hadn't, have they approved anybody
They
yet?
have started to approve them, yeah.
So we've seen some of the things that they have approved versus not approved.
Well, they finally sent out some direction on what you need to do, and hopefully actually had, from KSDE, we had Doug Boleen come down and help us. You know, or we didn't come down, I guess, we had him on
We
Zoom.
zoomed in, yeah.
But went through and helped us try to answer those questions, so hopefully we did what he needed us to do on that. But those plans can change, I mean, they're not set in stone. But I don't know if if you had a chance to look at it, if you had any questions or comments, whatever, I mean.
There's two documents there. The document is the actual written out application that would be submitted, and then the spreadsheet helps make the numbers more easily readable.
That's the piece I wanted to confirm. So everything that's in the spreadsheet, we're saying we're gonna attempt to get approval for all of these items.
Yes, all of those are in the other document.
Yep.
The spreadsheet just gives you totals and makes it easier.
I'm certainly open to any questions or concerns on any of that. That's, the more input, the better.
I think as long as, I didn't personally I thought it was well written and good. I think to where Kat was going, thinking if we could have visibility to something that has been approved, just to ensure we are following. If any of our buddies have gotten something approved.
When we talked to Doug Boleen, there were some things that were originally on our sheet that were items mentioned through all of the various interest groups that we had talked to, that he said, no.
I had a bus on there,
You will not
he said,
get
"Don't
approved if
do
you
that."
put that on there, don't put that on there. There were other things he
So that's the
said-
kind of guidance you were able to get.
Right, he said this will cause you a lot of red tape, I wouldn't suggest it.
Okay, so you
So-
tried the bus, any other things you tried?
Anything, you can do anything with the buildings and stuff like windows, but the red tape, once you get the federal government involved, it's in your building.
He explained it that if we did that, then the federal government would own part of our building, and from here on out, they would have say as to when we update, how we update, if we update, if we ever went to sell it, whether we'd sell it and we'd owe them money, and that the amount of hassle it would be was probably not something we wanted to venture into.
So here's your money, but there's a catch.
Right.
There's a catch to all of this.
Yes.
It's the other part, 20% of it's gotta be learning loss. So,
Yeah, I really liked seeing the list, for some of these positions. I like the idea of going for it, but it's like, trying to get someone in knowing that, hey, currently, we've got money for 2 years or 3 years.
That's
That would
the
be a typical
catch.
conversation.
And that conversation though would be happening at the time of hire.
It would be advertised as such.
Right. Just, right, cause that was my saying. We have to ensure,
And our needs will change in those 2 years.
Right, it's like we might have to.
the needs could change, the funding could change. It might be something where we realize we have to find a way to make it happen to continue it. It just depends what.
I would rather commit to doing the right thing we're trying to do the right thing for
In the
2
short
years.
term.
Yep.
Yep, I don't have any other questions. Does anybody else have any questions?
We do have to make sure we spend that 223, 130 on 20%.
It's highlighted in yellow on.
So if something happens, that something doesn't happen, we can't find a position, or we don't spend as much money as we think, we've gotta make sure we hit that
Okay.
amount.
Okay, so we might have to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
We've currently got a pretty good lead. We've put more in that learning loss bucket than what's required, so if something doesn't pan out, we've got some space there.
I think Doug, didn't he go through our list?
He did, yep, he looked at every line, he looked at every item like this.
We did. I think there's comments.
You have, everything you put on this list has to be related to COVID. And it's not supposed to be something that you would routinely do anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have a routine replacement cycle, it's not supposed to. So
Which we currently.
you gotta be very careful how
But we
you,
do have Chromebook purchase, a one-to-one student technology.
that is to maintain everybody
To get one-to-one.
due to COVID.
What did the survey do? Did it help to form this then, or just?
A lot of it
Reiterated.
was the 20% learning loss. Some of the stuff on the bottom was, what we were really interested in was what did people want? And from the survey, I think most of that was from the 20% learning loss stuff.
It was, the most mentioned items were summer school, tutoring, all the things that we
After
had
school
already in
tutoring.
that learning loss.
Ellie, are there any of the items in the bottom list that could move up to the top if we needed them there, or was that a pretty solid cut?
It was a pretty solid cut. Most of those things, Doug was looking at it with us and he said, yeah, if you stretched it or worded it right, it might make it into the top, but you're better putting it in the bottom. And since we had a cushion, it was,
The survey results helped us hit our subgroups too,
Good, good.
so that.
Yeah.
It'll,
we had responses back. I mean, not a lot, but we're a small school, so we don't have a lot of people in the subgroups. But, and they mentioned the same things as the other groups did.
My big concern is if, we gotta get this thing going and approved before we get the money for summer school. So, some point here, but
A lot of hard work going into this, thank you guys.
Yep, thank you.
these guys did it took a lot of effort. And Kylie did a lot with this too, so.
So you made it look easy from the outside. It's like.
It's
see
right
this,
here.
I'm like, awesome.
Hopefully,
job, so-
hopefully the wording
Passes.
passes and it fits the bill and we don't have to go back and forth because that takes time, so. That put us
Alright,
behind.
okay,
And those are estimates. We did not have exact numbers, we just had to put,
Oh, that is a good question.
what's the question?
Which page, 6? It says, provide additional counseling to assist with social
oh, what page?
Or maybe it's a comma and missing 1 0.
Page,
It looks like,
Page six.
looks like $120 because it looks like a period. I didn't think it was.
oh,
It's the bottom box
Yeah.
on the.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Implemented.
That's just a guess, so, well, it's a lot closer guess with the other zero.
The extra zero.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering, I just wanna make sure that
Good
was
luck.
right.
Good luck finding something.
Yeah, for a little bit.
You get a couple hours. Okay,
There you go.
thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Kylie.
It's fixed.
Awesome, thank you. I think we're ready to move on to state basketball school dismissal.
Yeah, since I talked to you, Kelly, they changed the times on me.
Oh, way to
I
go.
went back and looked, every year that's the same thing, and then I went back and then they started those games at 3:00 and.
Now it's 2.
Now it's 2, 4, 6, and 8 instead of, I think it was 3, they went an hour and a half and it always takes 2 hours between games, so I think that's why they did this. The March 9th for the boys and March 10th for the girls, so the Wednesday is the boys and Thursday is the girls. This is up to the board what you wanna do with this, we don't have to do this, but that's something we've done in the past. If we play that 2:00 game, I went ahead and kept it dismissing at 11. What does it take to get to Hutch?
2.5, 2:15, yeah.
2.5.
So that's still, I mean, it's tight, but people can grab lunch and.
It's usually 2 hours ahead of playing time, is what we've done.
Dismissal.
No,
No,
2
it's
hours, you gotta warm up.
3 hours.
yeah, 3 hours.
3
So
hours.
So the recommendation is if we have a 2 p.m. start time for the girls or the boys basketball team at state, the entire district would be dismissed at 11, so anyone wanting to go would be able to attend. If the start time is at 4, we would dismiss at
Noon, but I don't care on that. If that time doesn't, I should have talked to you guys, but does that time work best, or is it 12:30 or
well, this is
for
what I'm asking.
lunch, or
It is.
matter?
These guys would be the ones that would be so much.
A noon dismissal?
Well, it doesn't make much sense to go to 1 o'clock, I mean, you have 15 minutes class, so.
No, we wouldn't go to 1, but I didn't know if
I
you
mean,
were over
12:30, 12.
12:30, you could do that too.
If at 12:30, would that let
If we
the
played
kids have
at-
lunch?
If we played at
We serve
4,
all of our lunches.
I'd say 12:30, cause it'd be hard for the high school, middle school to get lunch in if we did 12.
Okay, so a 4 o'clock game would be dismissed at 12:30 and lunch would be served at the school.
Yeah.
For a 2 p.m. game, knowing that we'd have to dismiss at 11, does that end up counting as a non-contact day, like a snow day, or it won't?
It
Okay,
doesn't matter. The only time you could do that is if it's a
inclement weather.
inclement weather day. It can't be an activity day.
got it.
That doesn't work.
All right, so 11 a.m. for a 2 p.m. start, 2 p.m. tip-off, 12:30 p.m. for a 4 p.m. tip-off, and we won't dismiss early if we have a game at 6 or 8 p.m. And with that, if everyone's okay with that, I would motion,
So just one quick clarification, though, that's only if they win their first game, right? They have to win if it's boys on Wednesday, or the girls have to win on Thursday.
No, they win their sub-state.
you have to win your sub-state.
That's when they
Thursday
play on
wins
Wednesday.
This
That's
is the
first round
state.
on Wednesday.
This is actual
Yeah, I
state.
just didn't know if they needed to win the first round of state before we did that, I couldn't remember what.
They play.
First round is Wednesday.
This would count for
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Got it.
Because
Last year
if
was
the,
a little
if the,
Last
if
year
the boys
COVID
win on
was
Wednesday, then
weird.
they would have one of those time slots on Friday. It's, and then Patty, the March board meeting would be on the 9th.
Do we need a motion for that? It'd be on the 8th.
Well, the regular date would be the 9th, and I don't know that we wanna, you can either move it now or it makes more sense to move it now, I would say. If you, does Tuesday give us enough time?
Yeah, you may not get your stuff until noon on Tuesday or, yeah. But we can get it in.
So do we need to make a motion for that date change?
Are you going to change it to March 8th no matter what?
I think, I say,
You
Well,
won't
you
know
about
until
have- you about
Saturday
have to,
previous,
'cause you
so you
wouldn't-
almost have to.
let's just do it.
So if they win, you'll do it on the 8th. If they do not win sub-state, then you'll leave it on the 9th? Is
No,
that,
we'll
nope,
still do it on the 8th.
okay,
Let's just do it on the 8th.
it'll work.
I motion that we move the board March 2022 board meeting to March 8th at 7 p.m.
Second. Aye.
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 You are either one, okay. Okay, so, and then do we need a motion, the early dismissal, or is that just an approval, consensus approval? Do we approve? Okay, great.
What about, what we did in the past? Pet bus or what do we call that?
Yeah, we'd have the band bus and a pep bus. The only people that we'd get hotel rooms would be the players. But everybody else comes home back and forth.
All right, thanks. Three Lakes report, they actually meet next Monday. So I have nothing new to report from Three Lakes unless anyone else. Is that okay? Corey, the rec report?
We're finishing up youth basketball, K-ball, first and second grade, finished, this past Sunday. Third through sixth grade basketball will conclude at the end of the month with their tournaments on February 26th. The high school dance team had their dance clinic performance, Tuesday, last night. They had 67 kids, pre-K through eighth grade. I don't think that it's ever been that many kids, which is awesome. Let's see, Smoke in the Spring, just continuing to push forward with that. I've got 45 teams right now. I'm not really pushing. I've got a lot of verbal commitments, so I'm not too worried about it. Meat prices right now are really high, gas is really high, so I'm hoping to get to 100, but anywhere close would be great. So, really that's it until we get more into March, so.
Alright, I move we go into executive session.
Do we have?
Admin reports. I just skipped Mark's admin, oh my goodness, sorry. Whoever wants to go first can go.
I'll go ahead and go. Thank you first for approving the playground equipment. We will be so excited about getting that in. And I will definitely report that back to the student ambassadors and to the K-Kids, and they'll be thrilled. K-Kids right now are selling Valentines in the Commons area at the elementary school, and just so you guys know, we sold some at the ball games last night, so if you've bought them, thank you so much for your support. We use those profits to actually buy prizes for our lock-in in the spring. That's kind of what we do. K-Kids and student ambassadors are still collecting pop tabs for the Ronald McDonald House in Topeka. We're doing kind of a competition between grade levels, and right now the fifth graders are ahead with 26 pounds of pop tabs, and they're thrilled. On
Did you say
Friday,
pounds?
what's that?
Pounds?
Pounds, yeah.
Yeah, the class is killing.
They are, we bring in pop tabs almost every day. Every kid gives me a little baggie and shows me, oh, my pop tabs, so yeah. On Friday, thank you to Kylie Baxter and Angela Bergeron and some of the other teachers. We are doing, in honor of the Winter Olympics, K through 5 students are gonna be having an Olympic day. Students are gonna rotate around the school to different stations that the teachers have actually set up, and they're sponsoring stations such as Olympic events like ice hockey, curling, speed skating. So all of those are gonna be going on in our school. So if you tour our school, you'll see some of those teachers out and about on Friday doing their things with the kids. But they've also put up a lot of bulletin boards around the school that signify and kind of show off what the Olympics is all about. And students and staff are encouraged to wear red, white, and blue, or USA, showing our support for our US Olympics athletes. Last meeting, I think I told you guys that parents as teachers, that we were looking at maybe an alternate program for that. I did contact Greenbush, and we actually have an agreement with Greenbush and parents as teachers that we're required to kind of stay with that agreement. So right now, Greenbush is actually looking for a replacement for our parents as teachers coordinator. So that, it's really not our looking, it's their looking, and they're the ones that hire. So I was a little bit, wasn't for sure how that was all going to go about. But, so we're just waiting for, I think her name is Sandy Ellsworth. She's the director of early childhood at Greenbush. She's the one that we're kind of waiting on to see who we're going to get as a replacement for our parents as teachers coordinator. And then we recently did a fundraiser. Dan Carson, I've worked with Dan Carson ever since I did Builders Club in the middle school. Right now he works for Ignite Fundraising Solutions. But he's a great guy to come in and kind of show our kids what we can do to raise some quick money. And we did, we sent out emails to our families and friends, and if the students sent out like 5 emails, they got a Cowabunga keychain. And boy, that Cowabunga keychain was huge. And then every day that they brought their Cowabunga back into the office, they got to feed their Cowabunga. So, I mean, it was mass chaos for about 10 minutes in the elementary office for 5 days straight, but we raised over $3,000 for our book vending machine and buying the books for that vending machine. So that will be really nice to have over the next few years. So very thrilled about everything, and want to tell the whole community, parents and friends, thank you so much for supporting our fundraiser at the elementary school. And that's all I have.
For middle school, Builders Club helped out with the soil conservation dinner on January 24th, and Mr. Gonzalez reported they did a great job as always, and their help's always much appreciated with that. Tomorrow we go to the Osage County Spelling Bee, and Victoria Dorman and Jayton Bossy will be competing, and Holden Vaughn's the alternate. And then if they happen to win that, they'll go on to the state spelling bee, and that'll be at Newman University in Wichita on March 26th. Student Council is sponsoring the Valentine's Dance on Friday. That'll be from 7 to 9:30 in the cafeteria. They're also working on their winter door blocker to help raise some items for ECAT. And then if each door gets snowed in, or each classroom gets snowed in, then they have a incentive on March 4th. Flint Hills Junior League Band Clinic was supposed to be earlier, but it got rescheduled due to the weather. So that's now on February 16th next week in Emporia State. They have a clinic that starts at 3, and then they have a performance at 7 in the Memorial Union at Emporia State. And then Quiz Bowl started. We have one meet under our belt. That was our home meet, and that went very well. Thanks to Mrs. Lohmeyer for getting everything ready and organized for that, and to all our helpers. It takes a lot of volunteers to make that happen. The varsity finished in second place, and the JV finished in first place. Next week we got 2 meets, and then we'll have one more at Mission Valley, and then our league meet will be on March 7th at Central Heights. And then track practice for the middle school begins on March 7th. So just rolling right along.
Okay, just real quick, I've talked about testing before, but March is our month of testing, and so we're getting ready to start all our accuplacers for our sophomores. They're going to go to Flint Hills Tech or Washburn Tech or Allen County. They all take the accuplacer. Allen County sends somebody down there. Most of the schools used to send somebody to the school to test our kids, but they're short on staff, so we're probably going to need to be busing our kids to Flint Hills Tech or Washburn Tech in order to get those tests done. But I still think it's a worthy thing to do, and instead of making kids go up individually and see if they can get it done, we're going to set a date and take a bus of kids up there and get them tested for that. So that's coming up here in first, and then 1st of March is juniors will be taking their free ACT test, and we take them down to the community building, so it's a nice quiet place and no bells and all the other things that are happen in the day. So we will take them down there on March 1st. Quick update on wrestling. It's been a rough season for us. We're down to 5 boys and 1 girl currently wrestling. We were at 17 boys and 2 girls. Girls wrestling is coming up this Friday and Saturday. No, this coming Friday, Saturday. And then state is the 23rd and 24th. Boys regional is the 18th and 19th, and then state is the 25th and 26th. So we did buy those wrestling mats. We have 2 of them coming. Mr. Reeman and I, he's still up for it. Gonna go down to Park City and pick up and Mr. Hutton. We may need a couple more of you too, to pick up those 2 wrestling mats. I rented a U-Haul because it can't be an open trailer with snow and other weather and whatnot, but we'll pick up those mats on the 26th at the conclusion of that state wrestling.
Okay.
So that's 5 and 6A wrestling, and all the state meets buy new mats, and then they sell them, at a reduced rate. So that's how we were able to get those mats. But that's their only use is at state track or state wrestling. So we'll go pick those up and bring them back here on the 26th, and hopefully we can, I'll be working on recruiting some help to get some unloaded. We might unload them all in the middle school for the weight room for now, and then at time bring one set down to the community building to have it set up. But I doubt that you want them down there until wrestling season starts again, but we'll talk about that.
That's the 26th of February you're doing?
26th of February, yeah.
Let me know, I may be in.
So I know we have to pick up the U-Haul by noon because U-Haul place closes at noon. But state wrestling probably won't get done until, it depends, because they reduced down from 4 mats to 2 mats and then just the championship mat. So as long as I don't use one of our mats for the championship round, maybe we can get out of it a little earlier. So I'll just have to wait and see how that looks. You got the update on state basketball, so I don't need to go through that. We had 32 boys show interest in playing baseball this year, and 25 girls show interest, a solid 25 girls showing softball interest. So which probably means I'm gonna need a 3rd coach in both sports. It's been a while since we've had 3 softball coaches, but I'm definitely thinking we're gonna need a 3rd one. I've picked up more JV games. You can have a ton of kids out. If you don't have JV schedule, then they don't get to play at all, and then they don't stay out. So I've picked up a lot of JV baseball and softball, and so I would like to have the flexibility to post an assistant, a 3rd assistant baseball coach and softball coach, and see what's out there. And then maybe that season starts, February 28th? This is the first day for us, our practice. So get them started, and if the numbers hold, what we've done is pay them by the hour until our next board meeting. And if the numbers hold, then we just put them on contract, erase the hours. But if the numbers drop below and I can't fill a whole JV schedule, then we eliminate that position. We pay them their $10 an hour, and then they're gone. So if I can do that, I'd appreciate it.
Yes.
For softball, it's Carly's the head coach, who's the assistant?
I think we're gonna approve that tonight.
No, I think we did already.
Did we do that already?
Jenny Wilcox.
Jenny Wilcoxon? Okay.
Second coach. Didn't we do that a month or 2 ago?
And who's the boys? But
And is it
Foot
Winter?
and Wonder,
Wonder.
he's,
Interrelated teacher in
He
my
was a third
building
coach
for
last year.
kindergarten,
Last
1st
year.
grade.
Okay.
and so I'd like to get permission to do that for those coaching positions.
Do we need a motion for that? I motion that we open up 3rd positions for softball and baseball coaching.
Second, aye.
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 Thank, thank you, and we still have that assistant golf coach position open. We've been looking for. It's very difficult to find, unless they're a teacher, it's difficult for them to be an unsupervised coach. So we need a coach that can watch our kids while our head coach has gone to a meet, and then the JV can stay back and practice, and or vice versa. When the JV's off to a meet, we have somebody back with the varsity kids. So I'm having a hard time finding somebody that can do that. But I've had a couple interested, but they can't be unsupervised. So in other words, a coach has to be with them, which then doesn't help us. So it may a little bit on a few practice times, but we really need to have somebody that can go out on their own.
How does that happen?
Rule 10 code.
So they have to be a Rule 10 coach.
A Rule 10, their first year, they have to be
The
supervised.
first year they do, okay.
Second year, then they have to take classes, and then they can be an unsupervised.
So that's the problem we're running into.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But we're working on that, and if we can get someone a KSDE or a teaching certificate of some sort, even a sub-license works, then we can maybe skirt around it that way, so.
Did you say you already know how many boys are interested in golf already, or not sure yet?
A bunch, yeah.
Keeps going.
We might have to take a bus to a golf meet, no, because you can only have 6 on a team, but, so when we take a varsity meet, unless it's a JV and a varsity meet, you're still only taking 6 guys. But sometimes it's JV and a varsity meet, and a lot of JV meets don't limit your enrollment or how many you can put in, so you can put in 10 people, but our vans don't hold over 9, so there's times that we may have to send a bus, so.
Back up to that wrestling thing, we went from 17-5.
Yeah, some of that is, I think we have 2 injuries. We've had some ineligibility, and then we've had several just not stick with it.
Do we still, I'm assuming one of the perks of us moving back over here or having a program here was the understanding that we most likely would have more interest. And I guess we're all still hopeful that is the case based on what we're hearing, so.
That's all I have, thank you.
What do we do? We've done it now, so. Okay, thank you. I move we go into executive session to discuss supplemental positions, certified positions, wait. Is that right? And administrative contract extension pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA, and open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:31 with the superintendent present.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
welcome back to open session. I move we go back into executive session for 15 minutes, same, returning at 8:49.
Second, aye.
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 Good.
Welcome back to open session. I move we go back into executive session. As motion prior for 20 minutes, returning at 9:10 with the superintendent present and Tim Rubin.
Second, aye.
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 All right, welcome back to open session. I make a motion to approve Jenny Wilcoxon's resignation from assistant high school volleyball coach and approve Tyler Butch's resignation from assistant middle school basketball coach.
Second.
Aye.
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 I make a motion to approve the retirement letter from Mr. Heward as high school principal / AD as of June 15th.
Second.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
I make a motion that we extend the current contracts for an additional 1 year through June of 2024 for Mrs. Paul and Mr. Reman.
Second.
Nay.
Aye.
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 I make a motion that we approve Kimba McCartney as the high school cheer sponsor for 2022-23 school year.
Second.
Aye.
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 I make a motion, we adjourn.